Why in this modern age do we still obsess with brands? In the world of guitars and basses and the whole music industry, in fact, we tend to really focus on a handful of brands and hold them to such high esteem, and that they are just worth the money that you're paying. Let's say you want to spend between £1,500 and £2,000. What should you buy with that money? What is a sensible decision? On one side, you might say it's sensible to spend that on something with a higher resale value, or spend it on something that is a safe bet. But the other side says, well, if I'm going to spend this much money, why don't I buy something unique? Why don't I buy something not many other people have? Why don't I use the money that I'm clearly willing to spend on supporting a small independent business rather than a huge corporation? Now, I'm not going to sit here and lecture you about you shouldn't buy Fenders and Gibsons and all this, because I'm guilty. I bought a Fender last year. But the discussion piece I wanted to talk about today is more about, if you have that much money, maybe consider supporting a small business instead and shop locally. And as an example, I want to show you the Fenrir by Zona guitars. Now, I am based in the southwest of the UK, and in the southwest of the UK is a county called Devon, and in Devon is where Zona basses are made. This is their first full production bass, and in its basic form, these cost about £1,650, £1,650 for a bass that's got a more unique sound and is hand built by one person not far away from me. That, to me, just feels better as a consumer rather than going and spending it on the American Pro 2 Fender. And like I said, that is going to have better resale value down the line, sure. But if you're willing to spend that much money on a bass, why not get something with character and something that helps an independent? So this video is kind of 50% rant and 50% review of this bass. Before I go anywhere else with this video, I do have to say that Zona have sponsored this video and provided me with this bass today, which technically classes it as an ad. But it's not going to have an impact on anything I say, feel, or play. We've got this beautiful oak-fronted ash body. On this version, we have a cherry neck and a walnut fretboard. So pretty unique woods for a guitar, but ones that are sourced very, very locally to the builder. So it means that this bass actually has a really small carbon footprint as well. In fact, the only thing that isn't made in-house is these Goto machine heads. This bass comes with this custom-looking humbucker in the middle as well. On the neck side of the pickup, we have these Alnico 5 sort of Music Man style magnet pole pieces, and then towards the bridge we had that more traditional kind of jazz bass Alnico 2 style magnets. With all of this kind of vintage look, we then have it paired up to an onboard preamp with a treble and boost bass with a treble and bass boost controls, and then this really nice wheel to balance in between the different sounds on the magnets on the pickup. When you look at this spec list and compare it to something like, you know, what you can get from Fender for this money, it seems like a no-brainer, doesn't it? That like something like this would be a much more interesting and exciting purchase. Now, there's lots of specs I could spend lots of time talking about with this bass, but I'm going to leave a link in the description to my friend Matt Parker's video where he dives a little bit deeper into the specs. But for now, right here, we're going to have a listen to what this thing can do. So now we're here, I have the Fenrir going directly into the Line 6 HX Stomp, and we're not going to use an amp sim for this one. We are just going to be using the Noble Regal preamp that's built in. So without it, and going on the front magnet, it just sounds like this. Turning it on, it just gives it a little bit of saturation whilst keeping it super clean and super transparent as well. So a lot of the bass is coming through there and not just the preamp with the traditional amp sound that we used to get. So this is what it sounds like with the front magnet. Moving on to the back one, this is still with the preamp completely flat. I'm going to put it quickly just to the middle to demonstrate the first quirk about this bass. When you put it into that middle position, it does suck away a lot of the lows and the volume drops massively. So now I'm going to engage the preamp and yeah, help regain some of that. So this is with the bass boosted fully in that middle position. Now that sounds really, really nice, kind of like a really vintage P bass. Now I've boosted the treble fully to hopefully give it a bit more spank. This bass is just so good at that vintage P bass sound, and this is with like old rounds as well, which I think suit it really, really well. It's not flats or anything like that. For me, I really like this middle sound when you're just boosting the preamp fully, and a lot of the times when you're boosting a preamp fully, you might get a bit of like the sound can sometimes be a bit too aggressive, but for this, it's quite a low output pickup, I think, overall, or certainly in this setting, it's lower output. So you're not getting kind of like overloaded signal or super clanky high end. It's definitely built around that vintage sound, and that is why palm muting with a pick sounds so good with it, and fingerstyle as well. But I've just turned on the rat drive. We're gonna see how this sounds. For me, my favourite sound, I think, is when you've got it with the treble boosted, the bass kind of flat, and then just using the fatter magnet sound on this side of the pickup. It feels like a living, breathing piece of wood, you know? It doesn't sound modern at all, I don't think. It sounds super vintage, and that's why it's inspired me to play the way that I am. Now, of course, I said earlier about like, oh, you shouldn't buy a Fender, or like, shouldn't spend loads of money on that. Of course, if this isn't the sound you're after, you're not going to get one of these. But this nails that sound. And if you're after like a vintage type vibe and something different, and you want to spend some money on something worthwhile, then yeah, this is really cool. It's not without its faults, don't get me wrong, but it's really nice. So there we go. Let me know in a comment down below what you think about this bass and the kind of topic overall about where you should spend your money. This bass is just an absolute vibe machine. It is named after the Fenrir, but it is in fact a beast itself. This thing weighs an absolute ton, but it's just like packed with music inside it. I pick it up and it's got a specific sound that forces me to play a specific way, which I just think sounds so nice. Now, there are some things that I think could be improved. An active-passive switch would be great. There is a notch when the notes are in the middle, and there's also a notch when the wheel is in the middle. However, it's not super obvious, so I think the wheel could do with like a black line on it or something to tell you when it's in the middle more visually rather than trying to feel it for yourself. In between the pickups, it's almost like the phasing changes on it completely and the volume just drops. So you do have to compensate that by using the preamp. Personally though, I have absolutely loved having this bass. It feels fantastic to play. It's getting later in the day now because I've just been messing around on this bass for so long because I just found it super easy to write stuff and found it super easy to just, you know, start playing, and it inspired me. And I think you get that naturally more out of a unique instrument rather than something that you can get anywhere, you know? I know that I am going to be and continue to be a bit of a hypocrite, you know, in the future when I review basses from big brands. I'm not saying that you shouldn't buy those, but I just think when you're going to spend a lot of money on a guitar, you should maybe think about where that money is going to go. Maybe I should research some local builders that I might want to support instead. And actually, they might be able to provide you something that is more bespoke and has got more interesting specs and sounds that ultimately might give you better value for money rather than paying for what's up on the headstock. But there we go. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.